Thank you, everybody, and welcome to GNAT TV's dinner party. I'll be your host this evening, Mike Corvino, and for your listening pleasure, we have Celia Chen, Ray's niece, on the Chinese zither. And our featured chef tonight is my good friend and training buddy, Ray Chen. And I don't know if anybody knows, but Ray owns Inn at Westry Farm. Now, if you haven't been there, it's the best kept secret in the area. Ray? What do we got?
Okay, so we're going to start with a wonton soup. And so let's get right to it. So right here I've got 2.5 pounds of ground pork. And to that we're going to add various seasonings and other ingredients. You want it to be a fatty pork, so you don't want to take like pork tenderloins or loins and grinding it up. You want to take like bacon or pork butt or pork shoulder, really fatty stuff, and you put all the fat in. This will make your product a lot juicier when you cook it, right? If you have like tenderloin ground, it'll just be really dry and kind of like sawdust when you bite into it. Okay, so let's first like go through a little cutting process. I like to start a lot of my classes with cutting, because nobody knows how to cut. So everybody wants to cut, and they put their hand out here, they cut like this, and they get non-uniform sized pieces of anything. So the idea is you want to curl your hand, and you want to kind of create a fence. And this becomes your size of your product. So as I move my hand, I'm cutting down this piece of scallion. Right, so I don't go, oh, this is a perfect slice, this is a perfect slice. I know just by moving my hand I have a perfect slice. Okay?
So theoretically, if you want a wider slice, you put your hand down further.
Yeah, so it becomes more of a feel. And then I don't have to spend my time looking on this side. And then I'm not, and if you look on this side, you're probably going to cut your hand on this side because you're not paying attention to your hand side.
I did that yesterday.
Right. So anyway, so I cut the end off. I use this for my stocks, or you can compost it. All right, so here's my fence, and I'm not chopping, I'm not trying to damage the scallion. I'm trying to just gently glide through it. So I kind of rock off the cutting board. So you don't want to hear like a lot of noise. You want to hear just like it's a gentle kind of cut. Right, you can hear that you don't hear this. This is really bad.
So then when I do it, if I hear
yeah,
that...
Okay. We'll see, right?
All right, turn the sound off.
So if you want to get fancy, you can cut it on the diagonal. Then you become a 4-star chef. This is a classic Chinese cleaver, not for chopping meat necessarily, but more for fine work. So Mike's going to show us.
Not with that.
Well, you could. His knife skills and see if he learned anything.
I did. You told me about that fence? And then I'm just using my fingers as a guide, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gliding.
So you want to have your thumb behind your fingers. If your thumb starts creeping out, that's what's going to get cut.
You see the scar. Like that, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's going to be our garnish.
So I'll clean up after Michael.
There we go. That's a first.
Got our cut scallions. I've got 2.5 pounds here. I'll probably add about 4 scallions. If you like scallions, add more scallions. If you don't like scallions, you can leave them out. But it's a nice component to this dish. So I'm going to save some for garnish, and I'm just going to add maybe about that much.
I'm glad you counted how many scallions
I know, right? Okay. So I'm going to add 1 egg to that. And the egg is a binder. If you're allergic to eggs, you can add cornstarch will work. I might add a little water to the cornstarch so it kind of uniformly works itself into the mixture. To that, I'm also going to add 10 ounces of chopped spinach.
Now, did you make that fresh?
No, you can. Sometimes I do. Today, I got, this is 10 ounces of frozen chopped spinach. And it works perfect. You could use kale, whatever veg you like, but you need something to contrast with the meat. So spinach is pretty good for this. So just make sure you get the water out. when you thaw it,
So you squeeze it out.
you squeeze it out. Otherwise, you get a real drippy product.
Yeah, we don't want soggy
No,
wontons.
soggy wontons. No. Okay, so now we're going to add our dry ingredients. I'm going to take.
Let me ask you a question, Ray.
Yeah,
You always start with the dry ingredients first?
I do, and this is a pro tip for you. If you only have one set of these things, it's easier to if you put your wet ingredients first, then you put your dry ingredients. What happens to your dry ingredients? It sticks to your spoon, right? So we're gonna use. So you only have one, so just do your dry ingredients first. So to this, I'm gonna take a tablespoon and a half of salt. So, it's not a perfect science. It's a totally tweakable recipe. I'll take a half a teaspoon of white pepper. Don't have it, you want to use black pepper, it's fine. And a tablespoon of sugar. If you don't like sugar, you don't have to put it in. Okay.
But everybody likes sugar.
Well, so this is a base recipe. So, a lot of recipes will have shrimp in it, and we used to do it at the restaurant with shrimp in it, but a lot of people have allergies to shrimp, so we just took it out. So, but classically, a good wonton, you'd either have this kind of consistency without shrimp or with shrimp. Usually that's the two variables.
Yeah, everybody likes pork, right?
Okay, so to that, now we're gonna add our wet ingredients. We're gonna take a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. And so I don't have a 1/4 cup measure here. So I'm gonna use a tablespoon. So 4 tablespoons is a 1/4 cup. Is that 3? Just want to make sure you're paying attention. You got 2 of these?
Am I being tested
2
later?
Maybe. Two of these?
Yeah, that sounds good.
2.
Now, what is that?
This is sesame oil. And I brought the bottle for this because this one is something you may not see all the time.
And what is this, Ray?
This is Shaoxing cooking wine. So a lot of recipes say if you can't find this, use sherry. You always do that. But this tastes nothing like sherry. so try to get this,
Okay.
right?
And I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask a ridiculous question if you could use sherry. So.
You can because if you can't get it, I'd rather you didn't make it. But you could also use sake. You could use white wine. But it's just know that it's going to be different. It's not going to be bad. It's just not going to be what it should be.
Right.
Right.
Got it.
All right. So I'm just going to take that and just try to make it relatively homogeneous. You want to do this, Mike?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm doing it wrong.
No, you got this.
I love this tool you got here.
Yeah.
Is this tool specifically for this?
No, the inn used to be ice cream parlor. So there's all these ice cream paddles all over the place.
And you got, it's perfect for this.
So I was like, what am I going to do with these things? So I started mixing all my
I love this.
mixtures together with my meat mixtures with it.
Okay, listen, I'm not trying to use up all our airtime here, but I got
Okay.
3 pounds of pork over here. So now I'm going to stuff them?
Yeah, I'm going to show you how to stuff them. So this is not hard, and it's not hard, but you need to practice, okay? So repetition will make this a good product, okay? But even if you're terrible at it, as long as you create some type of seal, it will work. So just because, in the restaurant, they all have to look the same. For home is okay if they look a little different. So there's 2 ways to do it. I'll either use a paddle or one of these portion scoops. And when you're not very good at this in the beginning, it might be better to use this. And you want to I'll put a lot in just because I've done a million of them. So when you start, you're just going to put a little in. So I'll just take a scoop like that. Okay, like that. So maybe about a tablespoon. And I'll take, so you don't have to do this, but I put water on the edge up here. Like when people at home in China don't do this. I do it because I got in the habit of doing it because it creates a little better seal. So all I do is I bring this edge, the side closest to me, to the side furthest away from me, and I seal that shut. and then I'll turn it so the folded side is facing you. And I'll just dip my thumb in and I wet one corner, the top of one corner, and then, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Never.
If I go this way,
Oh, it's a tortellini.
it's a tortellini.
That's how we do it in my house.
I think. I mean, I've never made a tortellini, but I think it might be. I'm going to pull this folded side towards you. So I'm not going up, I'm going out. And I'm kind of using my middle finger as a center guide. So I'm pulling, 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 and then I pinch the top to the bottom just to create a seal. And it kind of looks like a little hat. So I'll do a couple more,
That looks real good.
and then I'll have Mike do a couple.
Oh, yeah, because I'm going to get that right, first shot, right. Yeah.
I'll just smooth some in. Brush the top with a little water. Fold. Folded side towards you. Dip one corner on the top.
You do make that look easy.
And then pull towards the audience. Right, Mike?
Then you put those two ends together like
Yeah, and
that?
I pinch it.
And it looks like a hat.
So it's also, if you're using really cold skins, it's really hard to fold. So if you know you're going to make it, I would pull out my skins maybe a couple hours before you're ready to fold. I mean, if you have cold, it's fine. Just know you're going to fight with the seal a little bit. So we got 3 nice ones.
Let's put those away. All right, so there we go. So I'm going to take a little of this here. Not too much since I'm a novice. That means not
You're
experienced.
not a beginner anymore?
Which is the one that's...
I think novice is like past beginner.
Oh, no. Okay. Wrong word. All right, then we're just going to put a little water in here. Run it across the top. A little too much, huh, Ray?
No, that's good.
But I think I can
No, but see,
recover.
it's not even.
I think I can recover.
It's not even.
I don't have my readers on. All right, this one's mine, everybody. Don't worry, you can have Ray's. All right, but I'm going to take that
Yeah,
around
that's not
here.
bad. That's not bad.
Right, and then I'm using my middle finger. I'm going to bring it around.
No, you didn't wet your finger.
I'm washing my fingers over here. There we go. How's that?
Yeah, just the corner.
Just the corner.
Right.
And,
Put it next to mine.
okay, for the camera. You got the camera here? There you go. Not bad. That's my second one.
I'm a really good teacher.
I'm not going to say I'm a fast learner. This side right here. I'm going to turn it over. And something like that.
That's pretty good. When we were kids, we would make these as a family, so you'd sit around with a giant bowl of this mixture. And so everybody would sit around and you'd have sheet trays filled with parchment paper, and we'd fill up the whole parchment paper, put another piece of parchment on top, do another layer of wonton, and keep going until all your filling was gone.
And then how would you warm them?
So like today we're gonna do wonton soup, which is like a bone broth we make at the end, and we add a little soy sauce and sesame oil. What we also like to do is pan fry them. So we have a frying pan somewhere.
Right here. Just so happens.
So we're not going to do it here just because it's a little risky. So the idea is I'll put like maybe 1/8 of an inch of oil in the pan, get it nice and hot, and I'll put them in, get a little color on them, but I'll also have like a cup of water and a lid because it's really hot and it's oil. So you want to put the cold water in the hot pan with the oil, which is generally not recommended. So you pour the water in, maybe halfway up, and then cover it. And then we call it steam frying. And then once all the water's gone, the wonton is theoretically cooked, and you just kind of finish off the bottom till it's crispy.
Oh, those are good.
And just fill that up. Go that.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing right there.
And then scallion on top, a little squeeze of sesame oil, and a little soy sauce. So, And that's our dish there. And stick around. We're gonna clean up a little bit, and then we're gonna move on to our scallion rolls, stuffed with pork.
Let's do it. Thank you. Thank you. Ray, what do we have next on the menu?
Okay, so we're gonna make a red cooked pork. We've got a whole pork butt here. Let's try not to let it drip.
Pork butt.
Pork butt, yes.
Okay, so is that the same thing as like the shoulder?
Pork butt, it's actually fairly similar. Oddly enough, the pork butt is actually the front part of the pig, and if you have a pork shoulder, it's usually the hind part of the pig.
That's confusing.
Which makes absolutely no sense. And then they also call the pork shoulder a picnic ham, I want to say. So they both work. They're both really fatty pieces. Like pork belly would work fine for this dish. So you need a fatty product. So I like the pork butt because it generally doesn't come with a bone. I try to take some of the fat off, which you don't have to do. You could, like, if I was just cooking for the family, I'd just take this whole thing, plunk it in the pot, and call it a day. And then let it cook until the bone falls off. When you're cutting any piece of meat, is don't cut towards yourself. Right, so I'm never going to have my hand in the path of the blade. There's nothing good. And plus, it's fatty, so the stuff is going to slide. It's like playing with butter. So I'm going to cut this way. Right, so then I cut away from myself. Now I have something to grab onto, and then I can cut towards Mikey.
Right, because he's expendable.
Right.
Collateral damage. All right.
So what I like to do is cut this into pieces. So cutting it into pieces lets me cut down on my cooking time, and it also lets the flavored liquid that it's cooking in kind of surround the little pieces of meat.
When you say cook that, how do you cook that?
So you can cook it on the stove like we're going to pretend to do here.
Right.
And so I say that because it's going to take like, 4 hours?
Do you leave it on the stove for the whole 4 hours?
I've done, yeah, I don't know why I do it, but we braise some stuff in the oven. Sometimes I cook it on the stove, right? I don't know, how would you like to do it?
At home, I think I like to put it in the oven. Sometimes I'll start it on the stove, I warm it up, get it going, and then I put it into the oven.
Yeah, so that's probably a better way to do it because you probably get a more even heat. So like a classic French braise, you would take, like a hotel pan or a roasting pan, and then put this inside, put a cartouche on top, like a parchment lid. Right. And put in the oven for 4 or 5 hours.
Would you say that word was? Cartouche?
Yeah. Cartouche is, we call it a parchment lid in French cooking. So I was classically trained in French cooking. So we would cut lids for things. So you never wanted to put like a full lid on top, because if I'm braising, I want some of the moisture to come out so I can create sauce. So by putting a parchment lid on, I'm protecting the top side of the meat, but I'm also letting some of the liquid escape. So I'm protecting my meat, I'm creating my sauce.
So it reduces down a little bit.
It reduces down, and your meat's not going to get crunchy on the top.
Right, and you're creating a sauce because of the reduction.
Right, exactly. So you probably still have to reduce, but your reduction time is greatly reduced. So I put 4 cups of water in here because this is 8 cups of water and we need 12 cups of water. So we're just going to add that in.
This is all pretty basic ballpark.
All right, so we're going in. This is just water.
For now.
So that all goes in.
At least we know we got enough water.
Yeah, well, we're going to add more water. So.
And I'll make like I'm doing something
Okay,
over
so we need to make. Is that good?
Perfect.
So we need to make that taste better than pork boiled in water.
Right.
So
That's our
1.5
soy
cups of soy. We got our not sherry wine,
Right.
but you can use sherry. Let's not forget that. We're gonna add a cup of this. Gives me 2.5 cups.
Oh, now we're doing man. All right.
We can add that to our braising pot.
All right, we got the color right.
Color looks good. To that, we're gonna add, this is star anise, whatever you wanna call it. So this is really strong, and this is something chefs abuse like crazy. They go, oh, star anise, let me put some in. You put like 10 of these in here, you've ruined your dish. So,
done that.
so I'll put like 4 in, or maybe even 3. Put 3 in. I'll put 1 cinnamon stick in. You can use powder if you want. I put 1 in. And there's a certain redundancy to this because we also use 5 spice.
No, why do they call it 5 spice, Ray? I always wonder. Is there really 5 spices in there?
There are, Michael. It's fennel seed,
Cloves?
clove, well, that's 4. Sichuan peppercorns, that's the 5th.
It's what?
Sichuan peppercorn. So,
Yeah, that's
you know,
not
like
something-
Sichuan. Remember, like the province that has the spicy
Right,
Chinese.
right.
I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons to that. And then we have to add sugar. We're gonna do the old
Eyeball,
Chinese
okay.
way, okay?
Right.
We're just gonna eyeball it. So we'll say that's half a cup. That look good, right?
That's exactly half a cup.
Right. So you gotta add the sugar. You leave the sugar out, you're gonna have this, you're gonna eat it, you're gonna go, it's good, but
Right.
it's missing something. There's a dimension that's missing. It's gonna affect the texture of your sauce, and it's just gonna leave you wanting something.
I've done it. It doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
He's being kind.
He called me up after he made it, and he's like, something's missing. I'm like, did you add sugar?
Right. First thing. Right.
So it was the sugar. And then just to finish, we're gonna put some fresh ginger in. Use like 3, you can put the whole knob in if you want, but this gives it a nice counterpoint.
All right. So we're gonna bring that up.
And that's it, we're gonna bring that up to a boil, then we're gonna knock it down to a simmer, either put it in your
the
oven.
Now, if you put it in the oven, what do you set it at?
I would set it at 300, no higher. You could go low, it depends on your time. If you got 6 hours of watching football or whatever, you can just put it in at 250, 275 and just let it run. You can cook this too long because once it falls apart, it'll just start tasting like soy sauce. So you want to keep the meat somewhat intact
And then you shred it yourself.
and then shred it, yeah. For today, we're going to do scallion pancake rolls.
Ooh.
Okay, so we're going to take some shredded meat that you've got heated over there already, and then we're going to put some meat in the roll it up, slice it, and then we're going to
Let's
plate
do
it
it.
over. 2 teaspoons of oil. So you want to get your pan hot. You want to make sure your oil's hot. And a lot of times just to make sure it won't stick, I'll get my pan hot, and then I'll add my oil, and then I'll get that hot. To me, that kind of creates 2 layers of defense
Right.
against sticking.
So nothing's gonna stick now.
Right. All right, so let's let that go.
Yeah.
You can even put your meat in now. So, since that's already starting to
Yep.
fold,
And then we take it on. We'll put it on half.
I would put it up here. All right, so you want to put it in the top part of your circle because you're going to roll towards yourself. I think that's good.
That's funny. Okay.
Okay.
You like it like that?
And then, yeah. And then we're just going to add a little scallion to the inside.
Ooh, I never did that. I like that. Oh,
They-
so it's like a Chinese stromboli. You should have told me this when you wanted.
Sorry, my bad. All right, so yeah, so Mike would take it over here and roll it. But I like to take, can you turn that on?
You got it.
So I'll roll it there just because it's still pliable when it's there. And then if I just leave it here for a moment, it'll just start to set up. and it's almost like a cannoli.
Oh, yeah, that's even better.
Always salt when it's hot.
And come and fry
and
it.
it sticks a little better.
Yeah, that's how I do it. Yep.
And then you have that. We'll put a little hoisin sauce.
How do you do it at the restaurant? Do you put a little inside?
No, I put it on the outside. Just because everything's meant to be shared. I'm just gonna take it like this.
Whoa, that's a beautiful dish right there, Ray.
Okay, 6 people can have a slice. All right, so that's the dish.
That's
it,
a
we're
beautiful
done.
thing. I love it. Nice job. All right, we have a few audience questions.
I've tasted your bone broth and it's delicious. Can you tell us how you make it?
Yeah, I use a lot of things, and the key to it is to cook it long enough. So I go through a lot of duck at the restaurant, so it's largely duck bones, and I use pork necks, which is really cheap. It's got a lot of cartilage to it, and it actually has a lot of meat, so you can pull off and have some nice soup. And then I'll add like ginger or anything. Like I use my mushroom scraps I put in there. I'm cooking it for minimum 12 hours.
So
you know?
obviously, chicken broth is not the way to go.
Right, and then if any of the health benefits are accurate, then chicken broth isn't gonna save your life.
Right.
So
Here you go.
Yeah, Ray, I'm curious about alternative sweeteners you might be able to use.
okay, yeah, we were talking about that before the show, and what I've fallen in love with using as an alternative sweetener is maple syrup. I use it in dressings that I never thought I would like it in, like dressings with miso. Like the miso salad I do, I used to use corn syrup because that was what we did back in the day.
Right.
And I was like, what can I do to just make it a little
Healthy.
less processed?
Any other questions?
Yes, I'd like to know how you make the pancakes.
Okay, so these we're using today, we've purchased, which is it's a pretty good product. They're not as good as the ones you can make at home, and it's kind of have you ever tried to make them before? No? Okay, so they're kind of like making jelly rolls. So you're gonna make this basic simple dough. It's just mostly just flour. The Chinese doughs are really weird. They're just like cold water, hot water flour, and you create this flour. But the thing that makes scallion pancakes so interesting is, so you'll roll it out into a log and then cut it into little pieces, same size, and then you'll smash it, make it like a circle, and then you'll roll it out, and then you'll take shortening, and you'll spread the whole thing with shortening and scallions, and then you'll roll it up like a jelly roll. So you've got the jelly roll, so it kind of looks like this, but then you're going to roll it like a pinwheel. You're going to roll it this way, and then you're just going to tuck the bottom in underneath, and then you're going to roll it, and it'll be a pancake.
You can buy them frozen, and they are really not going to be as good as making them yourself, but it's easier and they're good. And when you add the pork, they're perfect. That's it. Hey, please join us again for GNet TV's dinner party. Good night, everybody.
Bye.